On this episode, we tear down games to get more listeners. Because that's what you do now, right?
Yeah, it's outrageous what they did. On this next episode, it's crazy. I can't believe they did this.
Welcome to Save Every Universe. My name is Alec Garcia. I am the son of a famed Pathfinder after my father makes a difficult choice, which is a little bit hard to explain in the context of the larger narrative anyway. It becomes my job to find humanity's new home in a neighboring galaxy.
That's your character?
That's my character.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, okay.
Blow your mind a little. Blast from the past, huh? You thought I was a one-trick pony.
I'm surprised it's not a Red Dead Redemption character, honestly.
Yeah.
Or is it?
Yeah, it is. It's the secret. If you go up to the tower in the north with the Tesla coil thing, and you can actually portal out into.
You're Nikola Tesla.
It's a sci-fi. Yeah. I think they're setting up for a spin-off. Honestly,
spin-off. All right.
It's a Red Dead spin-off.
What?
It's a sci-fi game that's a Red Dead Redemption spin-off.
I'm gonna think of a really clever name for that, but
okay,
but not yet.
Well, that's actually pretty good. Huh?
My name's Robbie. I'm a loyal soldier to Doma who lost my family and my king to a cowardly attack by the Empire, and I will not rest until they answer for their crimes.
Dragon Age.
Nailed it, dude.
Is it really?
No.
Oh, okay. Who were you last week?
I was Roy.
I knew it.
Okay, so what's crazy about that? I played the Fire Emblem games recent.
Yeah.
But not the old ones.
Right.
And some of the reason for that is when Smash Brothers Melee came out, they put Roy and Marth in the game.
Right.
Even though there were like almost no Western Fire Emblem games.
Right.
And because so many people...
I had no idea who
I didn't know.
it was, but I liked Roy as a character in Smash a lot.
Yeah. So everybody felt that way.
Roy's our boy.
Yeah.
Roy's our boy. Yeah.
And it led to them releasing him in the West.
Oh, okay.
It's like Nintendo Japan was
they put out a newer
there's...
one. There was the Fire Emblem Warriors on Switch, which I played, which was good. It was like Dynasty Warriors, but Fire Emblem-y, right?
Yeah.
But they released another one, didn't they?
So they came out. Awakenings was the big 3DS one.
Okay, gotcha.
With Chrom and that's the one I played and got me into the series.
Okay.
And it was phenomenal. And then they came out with another one that was like a three-part game, and like you played one. They were full games, but like you played one half, and you played the second half, and they were from two different perspectives.
Oh, that's cool.
And then if you owned both of those, you could buy like a shorter DLC. That was like a third alternative path.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, it was crazy. Huh. It ended up being kind of expensive.
Yeah.
But I was all
That's a wonderful idea for DLC in general. Like if you like for a game that you love to get like a similar story, but like be able to play as a side character like through the same adventure, but take like a different path and stuff. Like,
dude,
why don't more people
it was
do
really
that?
cool because like you saw the game from like different ways,
right?
Because it's two families fighting,
right?
And you are on the one family side in one, and then the other family side from the other, and so you end up seeing like, oh, they're not just villains. It gave some depth to the game.
See, that's a cool
and then
idea.
the third one, kind of like showed the dark conspiracy behind everything.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
It was cool. It's called Fire Emblem
developers
Fates.
should do that with DLC that like kind of reimagines the world a little bit, or gives you a different angle instead of just like, I know, here's some more story because we have to sell you something. Yeah.
Well, it's kind of cool too because like even the jobs were different because that one was like a more European type family, and one was like a Eastern Japanese type family. Okay. So your jobs were different. The art style was like the actual gear your guys wore looked very different. Yeah. It was really cool.
Nice.
Fire Emblem Fates. And then they remade a Fire Emblem game on the 3DS. It was an old one, but they like it was a remaster. It wasn't just a port. It was like a redo of a re-release of
on Switch.
Yeah, no, that was on 3DS.
Okay,
so they've only been 3DS games.
Is there not like a native Fire Emblem on...
Spring?
Oh, okay.
Is the first native.
Yeah, I thought I heard something about one.
Yeah, I'm really excited for it actually because I've gotten really into these games in more recent years.
Yeah,
but I still haven't played the one with Roy.
Man, the Switch lineup's getting good, dude.
Yeah,
it really is.
Anyway, Roy helped bring all that to the West.
Huh.
From Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
And he's like most people...
Marth was lame. Do you know anybody who plays with Marth? He was like a worse Roy, is like all he was.
Now he's a top tier fighter.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Cool. I've been playing him a little bit because in that story, in the story mode, you like only unlock certain characters. Right. And I've only unlocked Marth. I don't have Roy. I don't have Chrom. I don't have Cloud.
Gotcha.
So I've been playing as Marth. He's all right.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's like
it felt like he was a weaker version of Roy.
Yeah, it seemed like he had the same moves, but he like didn't
he was
have
quicker.
Any fire. He didn't do
fire, dude.
Yeah.
Don't even leave the house without fire.
I guess he was like he had like a quickness and a preciseness to him maybe, and Roy was a little bit more like just raw power and cool effects.
Yeah, I know this is a sidetrack, but it's actually his sword in this one. They've coded it in such a way where if you can hit them with the end of the sword, it does twice as much damage or something as the base of the sword.
Because you really should be
really get them with the tip. Marth players love to get them with the tip, dude.
Yeah. Leave the base of it just out of it.
The base is for amateurs. Yeah. All the real fine work.
Lead with the tip. That's what I always say.
Yeah. Well, so do Marth players. So.
And last time I was on the note of leading with the tip and poking people with sharp things, I was Hollow Knight. I was the little bug on the 2D animated world and stuff like that. Which
I didn't get that one.
I also picked up and got a little ways into. It is hard. It doesn't mess around, dude. They punish you quite a bit. It's like, oh, you lost here. I'm going to send you all the way back. And
there's not a lot of like checkpoints.
Right, yeah. Or I missed one or something. I don't know.
Have you not gone back since that big?
No, I got owned and it like dropped me back to the other side of the map. I have a feeling I missed a checkpoint, but still, dude, it was like... Damn. And then you have to get there, and then you have to, you're like, just like a little Dark Soul thingy. Not Dark Soul, like Dark Souls.
Dark Souls.
Although people have compared it to it. It's like a 2D Dark Souls-ish.
Oh, because it's so punishing.
Dark Souls-ish. Yeah, but you have to like go back to your little ghost and fight the ghost of yourself to like get back your stuff that drops when you die. And
that does sound Dark Soulsy.
Is that how that was? I didn't play Dark Souls.
I don't know if you... Yeah, well, I guess I didn't either, so... Yeah. I won't start.
You sounded like you were about to have a really
because I think you die and you do have to like go back and get your stuff.
Okay.
But I don't know the details. And since this is an actual podcast, I don't want to start speculating.
It's definitely Dark Souls.
Because I know we have people that listen that are big Dark Souls fans. So.
Yeah.
So feel free to write us the intricate details on Save Every Universe
about how Hollow Knight. Hello, Dolly. How Hollow Knight compares to Dark Souls.
Yeah.
Because I've heard some people make that comparison. But anyway, no, I got punished very severely, and I didn't want to make the journey all the way back. And I've been baking cookies in Destiny, so I've had a lot on my
You've been baking cookies in real life.
That's true, too.
You're in the Christmas spirit, dude.
I am, dude. I've been making a lot of pancakes, too.
Really?
Yeah.
In Destiny or in real life?
No, in real life. Oh. IRL, brother.
Pancakes are nice,
raspberry,
dude.
Dark chocolate, buttermilk pancakes. Blow your mind.
Wow, that sounds really good.
Son. Yeah. What are we talking about today?
I thought pancakes was the top. I thought that
Today
was a
we're
good
gonna give
segue.
away my recipe for the best pancakes you've ever had in your life.
No, that's not what we're talking about. Today we're talking about the Bethesda scandal. Right?
No, we're not.
No.
Okay, so today... Okay, I have my notes up now. So today we're talking about gaming media. Because with the Game Awards, we're recently-ish now.
That was well said, dude.
Thank you. And... so we were just talking about it, and we realized we hadn't really covered like sort of the evolution of gaming media, like how from like journalism back in the day to niche publications to all that, like how gaming media has evolved to where it is today, and kind of the pros and cons of the media environment we live in now that surrounds gaming. What have you on the docket today, Robbie?
You know, it's kind of funny that we're even having this conversation at all, because like we are it. We are part of the thing that we're about to criticize or compliment or like, I don't think, can we have an unbiased opinion of this? Maybe we're small enough still that we can.
I think I'm more critical of us than I realized.
You're very critical of me.
Cut the cameras. We have to hash some shit out.
The stuff you say, you make me cry like every episode. So maybe it's good we're doing this episode now before we're like actually big. Because if we were big, we couldn't actually do this episode.
Yeah, okay, so let's...
Because we are...
Do you want to start there? About?
All right, let's go over the history a little bit.
Okay.
Let's start with the history. Right. Do you have any history notes?
Go ahead, yeah.
Okay, so
I have a couple comments on it, but
just really briefly, but this is good. This is good, like, context, I think.
Yeah.
You know how I like to put things in a historical perspective.
You're a lawyer bard by the mayor, so it's...
Not yet,
but almost.
And I'm not going to be a bard until next year.
Oh, you sing, right? In court, that's what that is?
Yeah. So
you sing of the tales of greatness.
You go to represent the people and you got to be a trained musician. That's what lawyers do. Yeah, that's all the ones that they want.
So when you're like giving your like whatever your opening arguments and stuff like that, you sing it all. Right?
You have to, yeah. It's an old tradition.
Punched him in the face.
Yeah, that's right. And real experience.
Raped him with the tip of the sword.
Yeah. Real experienced lawyers use a harp as well while they do it. Yeah, I won't be able to do that at first.
You have to. Yeah, that's like there's an apprenticeship process before they knight you like with a giant harp, and then they send you on your way.
Yeah,
sure, I've heard of this.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. And it starts with the mayor.
Right,
you become a bard by the mayor.
Right. So all that to say, you're practicing now by organizing your thoughts into giving context and history.
Right. This will really help me when I'm a bard.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway.
Continue.
So, what's kind of interesting about the history of this journalism is I thought it was interesting seeing how the trends from video game media they're like caught somewhere in the middle between the parallels of regular media, just news in general, and the video game industry.
Right.
So there are trends that go kind of wonky with the rest of the media, and there are other times where it lines
up.
I
think we talked about I can't remember what episode it was, but we talked about how gaming and technology are so closely linked and always have been. So in the early days, you see a very short-lived, actually, time where games was covered in traditional media like newspaper, magazines, print publications, and then it almost like in the big grand scheme of things like almost overnight just makes the switch over to digital media type stuff. Magazines lasted a little while, but it there was some TV channels, and I guess there kind of still are, that sort of covered video games, but like that never caught on because what's the point? Like by the time it did sort of catch on in TV, YouTube existed. That kind of thing.
So in the 70s, it was like they did cover coin-operated arcades, which were really big. You started seeing probably what we would have thought of the more traditional type magazines in the 80s.
Right.
But the big collapse of the video game industry in the 83, because there was like that balloon of people just cranking out stuff up.
And niche publications then too, because we talked about this in one of our past episodes. I found at a used bookstore like this old, it was like a 200-page guide to just Pac-Man. So you had a little bit Pac-Man. Of that too, where it was like these guides that was like these codified. Here's how to be good at the home video games, and it was like these
that was in the 70s
encyclopedia-esque things that were released in print. Yeah,
but that's how and that's what I mean when it's like a parallel to media in general, right? Because that's how knowledge was still captured.
That's true. Yeah.
In books,
right?
Yeah. What a weird thing to say, dude.
Yeah.
They were bound in leather and paper.
It's weird to think about, though, that like some nerd back in those days, like probably like that was a point of pride. Like someone who was really into video games back then was like had like all the different volumes and guides and all that stuff, and all that is like totally just obsolete and irrelevant. So it does make sense. We talked about this in our strategy guide. It was the strategy guides episode. It's a little weird to like buy print things because it makes so much more sense to just have rapid fire access to knowledge for guides and all these other things.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, because gaming is a digital media by nature, it makes more sense to just have the internet.
But there's some things though that are still properly let's come back to that.
Okay.
Let's continue on first the past. So
more of the journalism angle.
Yeah, the journalism angle for now. There was in the 80s, the late 80s and then early 90s, you started seeing the magazines like Nintendo Power. I think so. Nintendo Power started in 1988.
Okay.
I mean, did you read Nintendo Power?
Yeah, like Nintendo Power and GamePro. I'm not sure when GamePro came on the scene, but those are the two that I think about as like my go-to like gaming publications. Like GamePro was the magazine when I was a kid. Yeah.
I would say like it's from just piecing it together the way I remember it, like kind of the 90s.
Yeah.
Is the magazine era.
Right.
It's like really when those types of... It's when guides were big. It's when magazines were big.
Into early 2000s, actually. Like, I mean, we had the internet, but I still remember, like, in college, like, my freshman year of college, like, going down to the store on the corner near campus or whatever, and, like, flipping through the magazines at the rack.
Yeah.
Like, and that kind of thing. I mean, because if they had... And I guess this is probably where we're going with this, but because they had like authoritative journalistic like articles that was like, hey, here's all the information. I remember specifically about Half-Life 2 at the time. It was this massive like cover article on Half-Life 2 and how it's changing technology and all that stuff. You couldn't find quite as much of that online that was like authoritative professional stuff.
Right.
You still had to go to journalists, like real journalist authority sources to get a lot of that information.
Right. Online was becoming kind of like the way you got strategy guide type information.
Yeah.
I remember that pretty young, even at the end.
People sharing stuff in forums and chat rooms.
Cheat Code Central. Do you remember
that's
Cheat
right.
CC or whatever?
Yeah. I forgot about that.
Yeah, and so like there was that.
Yeah, good call.
But I wasn't really going to like Kotaku or anything like that.
Or especially going to like I don't know if YouTube was 2004.
Right, but it still wasn't like it.
Which is like yeah.
They were like funny videos. It wasn't
like YouTubers making a living talking about games. And
the
stuff.
Term YouTubers was not a thing.
Yeah.
Like that didn't. I mean, it may have been, but it wasn't
Right.
It wasn't like it is now. You weren't getting money from this. Mm-hmm. It wasn't
monopolized?
Monotony.
What can I say? Monogamy.
It wasn't monopolized.
No one who does YouTube is monogamous.
Monetized.
That's where we're gonna. Oh yeah.
Monetized.
Yeah, online advertising and all that stuff was like
came later.
Yeah.
So it was interesting because I think it was 2000. See if I don't know if I have it, but I read like some famous CEO in like the 2004 2005 like declared print dead.
Yeah.
And everybody was declaring print dead. It wasn't just gaming media, right? Like news has been on the decline.
Yeah, no, advertising and marketing stuff for sure.
Everything,
like,
yeah.
In the business world, it was like, if you're not on Facebook or whatever. I don't know if Facebook was open to businesses at that point, but whatever. If you're not like buying online ads and stuff, like you're missing the boat and you're dead forever and all that stuff.
And that was true with like news as well, right?
Yeah,
The traditional like anchors and things like that started going away.
Yeah.
I think you saw local news, but like that was the beginning of like you went to CNN.com or you went to whatever FoxNews.com, wherever. I wouldn't have been reading the news back then, so that's showing my. I don't read the news now.
Yeah, but like TV's still around, and
TV is still around,
so
and
it
like,
didn't die. I think
it didn't die.
Yeah,
but it didn't like. I think a lot less people were getting their news from newspaper,
right?
At least at that point.
Yes.
And I think the same is true with gaming,
right?
Like articles or whatever, right? So that's when you saw the rise of things like Kotaku, GameSpot, in like the mid 2000s,
right?
And it became the way that you found out, right?
Which makes sense though, because I mean, like, because it did start out with like chat rooms and forums and those kinds of things, sharing information about games, and that's what the internet does, right? Is it gives people who are passionate about things like a forum to sort of come together and connect. The natural evolution of that is someone says, hey, let's put all this knowledge under one roof and start a website, and then that's how you ended up with some of these big giant things that started in the early days and just grew organically over time. Yeah, we're too late to the party. What are we doing? We shouldn't have this podcast. Yeah, so you end up with like that's where it naturally went, right? Is like people sort of started to naturally just sort of congregate online and share information about gaming, and then someone got smart and put it under one roof,
right?
And and you end up with.
So in 2007, Nintendo Power, like kind of a third party picked it up, picked up the magazine, even though it was still like licensed and authorized. They themselves weren't doing it.
Yeah.
But really, all that stuff, I think. What do I have here? Like 2013, 2014 is when places like GameSpot had to do a bunch of layoffs.
Yeah.
And like now it's changing from, and I don't know if this is true in other journalism, like are forums becoming the new news? They don't really seem like it.
No, but so I think this is like back in the day, and we talked a little bit about this in our arcade episode, maybe. Like, it used to be a big deal, right? Like, a journalist would hear, like, oh, so-and-so is releasing this new cabinet. There's going to be one in San Diego or in LA or whatever. And journalists would travel to play it and cover it, and then they would relay that information out to the masses through their publication, that kind of thing. And it was a journalistic thing.
Yeah,
journalists got tips, followed them up, got the scoop, all that crap.
Yeah.
And so, but I think what is happening in regular journalism that has happened in games coverage as well is that the internet is like the great equalizer, right? It gives everyone more or less an equal share of voice, and so you end up with lots of people who have less professional connections, less authority, less training, spewing their opinions out at the same rate as journalists are trying to put out high quality journalism.
Right.
And so I think that's how we got to where we are now, where you have YouTubers that are making very nice livings off of being just like, I don't know how else to say it, but being toxic shitheads. They get views off of just like trying to crucify developers, and some of it's warranted, but some of it's like that's just how they make their living, is by being freaking like out. Gotcha kind of shit. Yeah It's
strange, right? So I remember in my undergraduate, I was a history major, and I was learning about yellow journalism, and I was like, this is outrageous. Like, there's no, I'm glad we got away from that, right?
Define what that is.
So yellow journalism is basically just like sensationalism. It's like if you were equating I think the example the dictionary gave was like somebody who smoked pot to being a murderer. Yeah. It's just as bad, and like just huge leaps in your reasoning and your and not a lot of fact. Just always being indignant and outraged and that kind of thing.
Yeah, where you do it, where you just will say anything you need to say to get views and get readership.
And that's what it is. It's to get people stirred up. It's
which
to get
a lot of people have said, like even like Fox News has like gone to places like that, or depending on what side of the camp you're on.
Fake news.
Different news sources have gone more toward doing whatever they need to do in the name of entertainment than versus like just communicating the facts in a journalistic. And
people have leveled that
high integrity.
Yeah, people have leveled that critique at news in general.
But I do think it's true. Like I don't like. Yeah, I don't want to name names of specific YouTubers, I guess, but like,
yeah, we might need them to collaborate with us later.
there are some people that like will outright say, like I've heard it in their videos. They're like, oh yeah, when Destiny fucks up, like our channel does amazing because we come out with these videos that like where we just crucify them and people love it. Like,
people love it,
and they know what they're doing, and they know that they're not. It's not like news and reviews. It's like they're making a living off of shitting on developers, and they know it. That's a little icky.
I think it's pretty icky.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a legal term, dude.
Icky. Yeah.
My criminal law professor
I'm not practicing to be a bard, all right?
Yeah, you're not going to be a bard, but you're well on your way using terms like icky.
I know.
No, I agree. Like, it's weird that now we've gotten away from, like, positive, good things to, like, it really seems like the biggest, most successful YouTubers are the ones who are outraged, screaming, cussing, indignant. Yeah. I can't believe they did this to us. Yeah. And I agree that some of... You know what? I'm not sure any of it's warranted quite like that.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's a Paul Tessesi or something. He's a writer for Forbes. I really like his stuff. But he writes for a major mainstream thing, and he doesn't, like, hold back. It's not like he's, like, not covering the facts. But you can see the difference between somebody like him who... He wrote about the Bethesda debacle, and the title of the article is "There's no way Bethesda's about to launch loot boxes in Fallout 76," right? So it's like kind of a casual headline. It's not like this stiff, like formal journalism headline. But then he just goes through and he covers the facts. He like gives you a quick history of like why people are pissed, and now the data mining shows this is coming. And then he gives like it like kind of switches voices. You can tell he's like, now here's my take on this, but we'll see what unfolds. And it's like a very like that's kind of like a
journalistic article,
but that's a more appropriate approach. Like they haven't done anything yet, right? There's nothing yet to be totally outraged about as regards this thing, right? So I don't know, in media, like in journalistic stuff, if like you're going to communicate and give news like all these YouTubers claim to do, I think that's a better way to do it, is say like, hey, here's what we know so far, but we'll see what unfolds. But that's not what a lot of these guys do. They take it and they're like, they're fucking putting loot boxes, and it like turns into this like, grab your pitchforks, boys, we're storming the castle. And it's like, it's clearly yellow journalism, sensationalism-y kind of stuff to stir up views and to get I don't know.
Yeah, I really hate it, man. Like, I just hate that, like, we're already so, like, divided and outraged and pissed off over everything right now that, like, people who are, like, making money off that, it just feels, like, really slimy, like, predatory, taking advantage of the culture, like...
Well, I don't think it's good for gaming, because, like, I've been in, like, chat situations with groups of gamers where... they post this stuff and it's almost like hey guys, I have the next thing we should be outraged about, here it is, make sure to watch it. And it's like it's almost like it's part of the gaming culture to like, it's not knowing what the news is or what the next release is or what games are good. It's like knowing what shit we should be outraged about when it comes to developers and everything else that's not gaming. That doesn't make any sense.
Well, we don't want to be known as like nerd rage,
right?
Like that's what everybody does. It's just nerd rage. Like that's bad for us as gamers. It's bad for the industry. Yeah. I think the only people who really benefit from it are the YouTubers who are doing it, right? Because it's one thing, like investigative journalism or whatever, shining the light and having your voice is good when you're being robbed of the voice. Yeah. But there comes a point when it's like, when it's just somebody screaming into a microphone.
Yeah, well, and I think I think the EA or the Battlefield 5, the TTK thing is a good example too, because there's some really good Battlefield YouTubers that I really like, that when they made the TTK Time to Kill changes to Battlefield to like market to casuals, is basically what they're doing for the Christmas season. They gave some very like good high integrity, like, hey, I think this is the wrong direction, I think this is bad for the game, I think this is terrible for the community, now let me lay out why. And it's like a 10-minute video that's like, here's why I think you know, and then toward the end, like, and here's things that you could do differently. You could do the same thing you're trying to do. I understand why you're doing it, but here's another way to think about maybe solving it. And it's like a good high integrity. Like if someone at DICE or EA was watching that, there's like real content there.
Right.
But then like you get a couple of those, and then you have these other YouTubers that take that and they're like, fucking EA is the most evil place on earth, and this was all their fault, and they're trying to screw us out of the $60 we spent. And it's like, yeah, okay. So it started in a good place, and then it like spiraled, like a bottom feeder type situation. They take the chunks of somebody's good feedback to a real issue, and then they just try to get views off of making it toxic.
Yeah, so one of the weird things I think where this is kind of going, so like YouTube started out as everybody having a voice.
Right.
But it's kind of
social
not...
Social media in general.
It's not anymore.
Yeah.
Like now the YouTubers are just kind of replacing the institution, right?
Yeah.
They're just replacing...
I would agree with that, yeah.
Kotaku, who was replacing the magazine. And like it's to the point now where just like famous publishers were getting sent review stuff, now famous YouTubers are getting sent review stuff. Like it's not really... a common person, right? And now these famous YouTubers have like a whole team. The common person doesn't have a whole team.
They've got editors, and they've got like
we don't even have a whole team, and we have like we have Tony who volunteers to like film this
for us and stuff,
and my wife who does our social media for free, like But these YouTubers who are getting paid, like they come off as the casual common gamer, but they're not even the common gamer.
That's actually I think that's really true, and I think you see that with both though. I think you see that with the people who work for like IGN or like a more established institution. And these like higher level YouTubers, it's like they're in a bubble a little bit, and the person who like walks into a store and grabs a game off a rack or randomly decides to try something out of the PlayStation store, they're having a very different experience probably than the person who's like read all the stuff and talked to all the people and played the early access and all that kind of. There is a little bit of a disparity, and they end up with these opinions that they're like, this game's shit, and it's like it's not even coming out for 6 months or whatever, and there is a disparity between like the average gamer and the top tier.
But what bothers me is they have like no credentials. The guy who's up there screaming in the mic is the YouTuber. He's just some asshole who got famous for screaming. The writer, in theory, went to school, learned how to write, has like some type of ethics code, some accountability. But like YouTubers don't have any type of accountability. They can shit all over it and be like, well, that's just what I thought, and move on to the next game. And as long as they don't say the N-word, they pretty much get away with it, right? Or some anti-Semitic something.
I was thinking about that actually with... Because Destiny, I mean, love it, hate it, whatever. They actually have done a pretty good job with Forsaken sort of steering the ship like back in a direction, right? More or less. Right?
Yeah, okay.
We can think of a different example. No. That's an easy one off the top of my head.
Top of your head.
But when I look at like all the shit that's out there and they're like, we're listening to the community, I'm like... I want to meet the person who's like sifting through all of that to try to get down to something useful, because the person who actually says something constructive, like here's how I think they should fix this, there's only a handful of them out there. Like Dado actually does a nice job with some of his stuff, but yeah, man, I feel bad for the developers because it's just this, it's not like a microphone, it's just this never-ending deafening roar of shit that they have to sift through to like try to hear feedback and improve the game.
And it's hard to discern the difference between how many of those people are people who've played this game and feel this way, and how many of them are people who've just been on Reddit and kind of understood what...
Like Fallout 76, there actually is a core player base. We talked about this a little bit last time. This was my cliffhanger. There actually is a core group of people who are playing and enjoying that game, and they're in it for the long haul for whatever reason. But like the opinion around that game has become codified that it's garbage and Bethesda's evil and they're trying to screw everybody, and that's the opinion. And there's really no room.
It's tough to get away from that.
Yeah, for there to be any other opinion on that game, even though there is a core base that's enjoying it. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah,
and unfortunate, I think. Yeah,
I just think it's really difficult, and I don't know what developers are supposed to do either, right?
Right.
Because you could go on Reddit and find a bunch of legitimate gamers who have feelings and thoughts.
Yeah.
And you can go on and find people like, I have friends who I don't talk to anymore who have lots of opinions about video games that they've never played.
Yeah.
Like it was like, what? And they were like, oh, that game's evil, or that's bullshit, and who plays that? And I'm like, but you never played it.
And it kind of reminds me of like on Google, right? You click a couple things or anything, like web retargeting. Now you click a couple things and it's like, oh, this is what you're interested in. Here's a bunch more of that. And you get insulated from any kind of other opinion that you don't like or agree with or anything like that. I think that's the same thing that is happening. Like one opinion gets like codified as the dominant truth about a game or about a developer, and they're like, you get bubbled, and there's no room to think for yourself or voice a different opinion on something else. Yeah, even for people who haven't played it themselves.
But what I hate about that now is that it's not necessarily grounded in fact, or it has more weight with the emotion and less with the truth.
Yeah.
And that bugs me a lot.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And I would say, like, right now, it's not really any different. Like, this mistrust of some big corporation is no different than the celebrity YouTubers that are getting paid to do, like, they're doing the exact same thing.
They're getting the same spiffs, the same,
Yeah, there's no, like, more, it's not more pure to be doing what they're doing. And I hope people kind of realize that.
But that platform to influence a lot of people with none of the grounding in, like, traditional journalistic integrity is... Yeah, it's unfortunate a little bit.
Yeah.
Not that I'm like this hardcore traditionalist, like rules and blah, 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 but there is something to a rooting in professional discipline and ethics that probably would go a long way in the gaming community.
Yeah, I think we could all use a little more ethics right now.
Thank you for listening to Save Every Universe. If you enjoyed this episode, please share us with a friend in Idaho or the Dakotas, maybe Louisiana.
Oh, yeah, you got the list. Is that what we need still?
Yeah. No one has ever heard us in Idaho. I don't know why.
If you began streaming in a bordering state and drove into Idaho...
Oh, that would be very helpful to us.
And hey, Merry Christmas, guys. Yeah. We're almost to the end of another year.
Yes, and what a year it has been.
We hope you guys are enjoying the holidays with your family. And if you're not, we hope that you're listening to us. We can keep you company.
Oh, and we want to know, do you have... Because last year, I think we made gaming New Year's resolutions. I think we did. Did we?
Did we?
Well, I think we may have. If you have a gaming-related New Year's resolution, like play more indie games or whatever, we want to hear what it is. Send us an email, saveeveryuniverse@gmail.com. Bye!